Okay, this is foundational nutrition number 10. We're going to talk about asthma. Okay, a lot of natural healthcare is backed by research. Also, think of this as one way of doing things, not the only way of doing things. There's many different approaches. If you already have an extensive background, I hope you can find this useful. It'll show you the science behind what we're doing. And if you're new, I'm kind of trying to do a Dr. Seuss version of holistic healthcare to get people started. We need more and more people doing this type of work. And of course, I'll plug Zorex. They're never found on Amazon. Okay, there are 27 million Americans with asthma. 4.5 million of them are children. That's about 7.5 to 8% of the population. And the important thing to know is that it's increasing. So asthma is about three things. It's about inflammation, it's about bronchoconstriction, and thick mucus. Of course, they're going to recommend the Roadmap to Health diet, which is an anti-inflammatory diet, but there also might be hidden food sensitivities. Here's a study where 188 children were with bronchial asthma were placed on an elimination diet for 6 weeks. 62% of them had total symptom relief, and another 28% had partial relief. And 40% of them had a recurrence of symptoms when they started eating the foods that were originally eliminated. So Oxford Labs has a test. It's not a hidden food allergy test. It's an actual inflammation test. They take the blood and then they see if they can create inflammation by exposing it to certain foods. A cheaper way around the block is to do the Pulse test, which is you take the pulse, make sure they haven't had any food for the last 2 hours. Actually, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. Take the pulse for a full minute, none of this 15 seconds and multiply by 4 stuff. Do it for a full minute, and then put the food in the mouth for the full minute, hold it there, and then for another minute, retake the pulse for a minute. If it increases by more than 6, that's significant. Not a lot of research about the Coca Pulse test, although in the 60s they did run a couple of studies and found that, yeah, there might be something here. And it makes sense. A speeded up pulse is an inflammatory reaction. So it's worth trying. It certainly costs nothing. And of course, if we're talking about inflammation, we're going to talk about our old friend pancreatic enzymes. They're for more than just pain, they're for any inflammatory condition. If I'm not mistaken, the original use of pancreatic enzymes was actually for cancer patients. They found that they could be absorbed whole and actually reduced inflammation and actually helped cancer go into remission. I'm not recommending that you treat cancer with enzymes, but that there are people that strongly believe that, and actually in any inflammatory situation, it's good, and asthma especially. And magnesium is nature's muscle relaxer. It also turns out to be nature's bronchial relaxer. And there's a lot of studies showing that magnesium supports asthma. It's even been used in the emergency room to stop an IV magnesium has been used to stop an attack. And studies have shown that asthmatics tend to have lower magnesium levels than matched controls. And there are many studies that show that magnesium can improve symptoms and improve quality of life in asthma patients. Iodine thins mucus. And it's very useful for asthmatic patients who tend to have thick mucus. If they have really bad asthma, they have mucus plugs. And very frequently, iodine will help these patients. And consider the possibility of allergies. You might want to look at the last video. According to the NIH, 60% of the people who have asthma also have allergic asthma, and it seems to go up. So 75% of adults age 20 to 40 have an allergy, and 65% of those age 55 and older have an allergy that might be contributing to their asthma. And studies have also shown that the makeup of the microbiome can be a source of symptoms. And probiotics have been used to reduce symptoms. Of course, I always say about probiotics, if you take the probiotic and you do better, but you stop taking it and the symptoms come back, that means the environment isn't very good and you have to work on that. The roadmap to health will go a long way to helping balance the microbiome, but if it persists in being a problem, you could do a GI map or other kind of stool test and see what's growing down there. Another thing that tends to prove the involvement of the microbiome is that antibiotic use may be linked to an increased chance of developing asthma. And once again, probiotics have shown anti-inflammatory effects and can regulate the gut-lung axis. This is just a graphic put up by Microbiome Labs that shows how intestinal permeability can lead to inflammation, and indeed, it is a source of a lot of inflammation. They're a good company. They make things that are designed to balance the microbiome and help heal leaky gut. And you might find testing for intestinal permeability is worthwhile. The zonulin test has gotten very popular, but it's also been dissed in some of the literature as not being entirely reliable. The old lactulose mannitol drinking thing seems to be better. And there's a company, I believe Cyrex Labs, has a very comprehensive leaky gut test that they do. Stress and adrenal function play a big role in asthma. For one thing, the use of steroid inhalers tends to suppress the adrenal gland. And studies have even shown that cortisol levels are lower in children that use inhalers. I don't know why I brought this thing up, but it does talk about adrenal function being linked to bronchial asthma. Back in '66, JAMA was writing about it. And this is a study from the '60s that quotes a bunch of studies from the '40s. I just thought it was very interesting. I'll take a minute to talk about glandulars. A lot of us use adrenal glandular substance. Zorex makes AD complex, which is an adrenal glandular. And we do know that glandular tissue ends up in the gland that it's targeted. Dr. Kemet of Germany used radioactive isotopes and found that, if you take adrenal glands, they end up in the adrenals. If you take thymus glands, it ends up with the thymus, so on and so forth. And other research has supported this. Before I read this slide, I want to make sure we're going back to the first slide and set of slides and talking about you're not really treating asthma. You're basically using the asthma as to give you clues as to what the body's infrastructure needs. You can have 6 different asthma patients and use 6 different protocols and have them work, but the protocol for number 5 might not work for the protocol of number 2. So having said that, this is a good place to start. You give them 8x pancreatin, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening on an empty stomach. Give them 1 Ki cap a day. That's 89 times the RDA of iodine. So lay people, make sure that, because if you have a hot thyroid nodule, it'll create a problem. So don't just randomly take it. You need to know what you're doing. Magnesium glycerophosphate before bed to bowel tolerance, and that is you start with 3 or 4 of them right before bed on an empty stomach. Magnesium needs to be taken on an empty stomach, and then add 1 a day until the stools get soft, and then back off. However, if they have kidney issues, you don't want to be dosing magnesium that way. Once again, if you're a layperson, don't treat yourself. And quercetin, 2 of them 3 times a day. There's all kinds of studies that show quercetin supporting the lung. And then we're going to add AHF, the allergy formula from Zorex, 1 3 times a day, because most likely they have an allergy. And of course, the roadmap to health diet to reduce inflammation. Now, this will either work or it won't. The thing is, what are your patient's issues? If they need adrenal support, you might find out that makes a difference, and you might find they might not need the AFH as much. Or you might find hydrochloric acid to help their digestion. You might want to test for leaky gut. Cyrex Labs, I think, is the name. They have a good one. Or any kind of leaky gut testing. You might want to intensely treat the microbiome. This is just a starting place. This isn't the asthma treatment. It's just to give you some ideas on where to begin. And tell your patients that you're not treating their asthma, you're treating them. And the asthma is telling you that they've got inflammation, they've got thick mucus, and that their bronchioles are tight. Chances are you'll get some improvement, but you may need to do other things. The next video is on immune support. I hope you can make it there. And thank you for listening. If you need any help at all with your practice, let me know. I've got an odd marketing background. I've got a lot of content if you need help, stuff for your website. I've got reports, newsletters, things that I can customize for you. There's Zorix International's information, and once again, free shipping with your first order. Use code PV10.